travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk Today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. I'm often reminded it's not only the work you do, but the people with whom you work that make all the difference. And I'm honored to be surrounded each and every day, in particular, the first Monday of every month, where we have our monthly mental health matters. You want to know what we're talking about? Well, is it World Mental Health Day being celebrated very shortly? Are we going to be looking at the idea of mental wellness in the workplace? You want to find out? You better stay tuned. Bring us some chocolate and we'll tell you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is reminding you.
Avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Email Talk Today at candw.ky. Let your voice be heard.
And now, back to Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Radio Cayman Talk Today.
People, not person. Hey, welcome, and as I am surrounded by good people, laughter, they say, is good medicine. And if you ever find yourself in a space, in a place where you're not quite sure, well, call a friend and ask them to show you their baby pictures, and that'll make you laugh, boy. Nothing will. I see that partly in jest, but partly as a reminder how important it is for us to, bring our best game always. And it's not about acknowledging or ignoring sometimes that thing that burdens us. It's about recognizing that true love, support, and nurture, kindness, compassion, the kind of values and virtues that nowadays, unfortunately, we hire as soft skills, which to me are almost a misnomer. They're essential. And how do we make that manage? Well, Dr. Warden, publicly and privately, as I always shared, thank you so much for helping us to always assemble a fantastic team as you have. And for those listening, you'll see the four sort of mature professionals joined by a younger fifth that will surprise you. So mental health, we talk about it sometimes, thankfully, more openly, but wonder to what extent we take it on board.
Yeah, no, and thank you to yourself and to Radio Cayman for always having us on. October 10th is World Mental Health Day, and this year they're looking at mental health in the workplace, so that's what we'll be focusing on today as well. And we're joined by a lot of people that have a lot of different skill sets, and I'm really excited to have. Yes, no, you of course are the top one there. So I'll have ask everyone just to introduce themselves and where they work.
All right. Well, usually we say age before beauty, or but not as kid. Should we go with Dr. Shannon first? Would that be okay and appropriate? Only
Sure.
Because I think the gentlemen here are knights, and they recognize that we were raised as good men, and always chivalry is not day, but deference to those who are much, much more revered. So, Dr. Shannon.
Sure. So I'm Dr. Shannon Seymour. I'm a clinical psychologist and the director of the Wellness Center, and also always happy to be here. This is always a great, lively, spontaneous, but intimate conversation, and I love it.
There we go. Mr. Dunkley, you look, like me. Your mind is everywhere, and your presence is very evident. Come on.
Right here.
You sure?
Yes.
I just messing with you, man.
Yes, as you said, my name is Jason Dunkley, and I am the clinical supervisor at the Counselling Centre.
Okay.
My turn. Or young lady, your turn.
I'm Zanita James. I'm a counsellor at the Counselling Centre.
I am Ian Levine, Dr. Ian Levine. I am with Levine Neuro Coaching.
Sometimes I appreciate you guys playing along for a bit, because sometimes, very consciously and deliberately, what we bring into a space impacts and affects people, and without even knowing. So I came in recalling one of my first lectures in psychology for the public. Love the subject. The only thing that is probably better than that is economics, especially when you have neuroeconomics in the study. And the psychology teacher came in one day and presented a very angry profile, just in her body language. And she did it maybe 12 minutes, if that much. And the whole class was used to her being kind, considerate. She would, have things to share. And then she introduced the idea of organizational behavior. That today probably has a different title. And she said, whether that's in your workplace, whether that's in your home, amongst your friends, if you bring that thing in and you're not aware of it, it's so easy. She reminded us, she said nothing to us about what was going on. She just got to back then it was a chalkboard. If you don't know what that is, actually, grandmother.
Whiteboard these days.
Smartboard.
Moved on.
Yeah.
It's not even that. It's a little tablet. There's nothing on the screen anymore. And she just started scribbling. And it was illegible. And it was deliberate and nothing, right? And for some reason, two of us kind of must have picked up on what she did. And then she went into the idea of, I guess today's language would be, being cognitive about what's going on, the idea of emotional intelligence. And way before those things were, were topics. I mean, I'm talking back in the day when my pet dinosaur used to be so kind. And how does that translate, 50 years later into us in the working environment where we don't always appreciate that we're affecting our colleagues, our, customers, but even sometimes the very community. If I might, Dr. Shannon, go back to you, because through a lot of your program and the like, but just, like when I was working parents, balancing all of these things, and then go to Dr. Borden, and then Ms. James, maybe to you as a, new entrant into the field, things are changing rapidly.
Yeah, I think this is such an important topic because you're right. I think the field of psychology in the workplace several decades ago probably was focused on understanding behavior and how to sort of drive performance or behaviors that then would benefit the company or the outcome or the objectives of an organization. That's, I think, where organizational psychology originated from, right? And I think where we are now is the role of psychology in the workplace is really looking at probably both what is good and important and healthy for an organization's sustainability, but also looking more so now at the individual employee and their well-being. And so I think that's been a significant shift over the last couple of decades, is that psychology sort of sat in the corporate world for the purpose of understanding what would drive consumer behavior, maybe, what would drive investment behavior. And now psychology kind of has a place in the corporate world in terms of how do we take better care of the well-being and mental health of our employees.
I recognize we have to go to the break, but is that just lip service? Are we really, as a community, as corporate entities, there are a lot of even wellness programs. They used to be relegated to the senior executive, whatever they were called, and only after something happened, there was a response. And only because the organization recognized that this person was so, quote-unquote, key. His, usually, but today her absence would impact the profit margin.
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation because it's a complicated topic.
Right.
I think that there is much more than just lip service going on in our community from my experience. But I also think there has been this shift to where there is a sense that individuals' well-being now falls under the responsibility of the organization. And so I think there's those two things that lend themselves to creating kind of the complexity of this issue of workplace stress and workplace well-being.
Okay. And when I say lip service, I mean globally, right? Not just in Cayman. And thinking that the evolution of that department, personnel, and might have been cost management, human resources, and talent. So are we doing more than just semantics and ascribing words to the process, or are we actually, looking at how? And maybe after the break, right? We'll take a break, sir. He said, "Yeah, okay, we should follow." And who all in favor of following the break? No, okay, we're gonna keep talking. No, we're gonna take the break. And the notion of the impact of the workplace on the mental health, of the employees, but also by extension. And usually we will be worried about how the job affects the people and how the people affect the job. Which one is the emphasis? All right. Stay tuned. Join us after the break.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
If you or your loved one is facing cancer, only Sylvester will stand firmly by your side at every step, from diagnosis through survivorship, providing you and your family peace of mind and assisting with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center is South Florida's only NCI-designated cancer center and specializes in treating the most complex cancer cases. Your first-class cancer care is just a flight away. Learn more at sylvester.org.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks very, very much for joining us. It's our monthly mental health magazine. I can't believe it's October already. I'm looking forward to my Christmas cassava cake. That's all I'm saying. That's going to be my mental break. So, as we look at mental health and the mental health matters, Doctor, when I come back to you, I know I put a sort of a question on the table, but if we are able to not only just embrace some of the things that we're facing and not feel subjected at times to ridicule or being ostracized or otherwise, we might not only be more productive, but we might get more, that sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
But,
I think that companies are realizing that it's in their interest, even just the financial bottom line as well. Like obviously as humans, hopefully they would care about people that work for them, but financially it's better for them to have a healthy workforce, and to create an environment with a team that is sustainable, because it costs a lot of money to onboard, offboard, losing money from people when the workplace is toxic. People end up taking a lot more sick days. They're not as productive. They're not willing to put in the extra effort. They're not going to go the extra mile for people that they think don't value them, don't respect them, and if they're burnt out. So many companies end up under-resourced, and people end up under pressure, especially if you have some strong employees that can pull the weight, over relying on them. And it's really difficult. So the World Health Organization actually has some statistics that can be helpful, highlighting that poor working environments can be caused by discrimination, inequality, excessive workloads, low job control, job insecurity, that about 15% of working age adults are estimated to have a mental disorder. This is statistics globally from 2019, that an estimated 12 billion working days are lost every year to depression and anxiety at a cost of US $1 trillion lost per year in productivity. So this is not only of interest to the companies, but also to the community to have, to be able to support the members of each family, of each organization, to have everyone be more productive, because it has a huge effect on everything. And then talking about the importance of promoting and protecting mental health at work, which is why why they have chosen this for the theme this year. We spend most of our lives at work, right? 40, 45, 50, 60 hours a week, depending on where you work. And so it's really important to look at how that impacts us, what we put into it, what we get out from it, and overall for the bigger picture as well, for the sustainability for the company and the community.
Dr. Levine.
Yes. So Dr. Bodden just spoke about the stats with the World Health Organization. And even when I knew that we were having this conversation today, I decided to do a quick check on the population, the global population as of 2024. And according to the World Health Organization, we are now 8.2 billion. So I'm getting somewhere with that. So 8.2 billion. Another source shows us that the working population is 3.5 billion. And now for America, Mental Health America, it says that at least 81%, a survey which they did on mental wellness in the workplace, they showed that at least 81% of persons in the workplace, this is what they said, and I just read it here, reported that workplace stress affected their mental health. So we're looking at a global population of 8.2 billion. We're looking at a working population at 3.5 billion. And now we're looking at stats in 2022, which says that 81% of workers reported that workplace stress affected their mental health.
Jason, those numbers, even if it was one person, sometimes we say one is being affected negatively, one too many. But from your perspective, even on a macro or a micro level.
Yeah, I think keeping in mind what Dr. Bodden is saying, and yourself, Mr. Levine, Dr. Levine, is the fact that of all those people that are being affected by mental health, their mental health is being affected at work, as much as there's a responsibility now for HR and for leaders to be mindful of mental health. I think there's also an expectation from employees now, because everyone's aware of how significant the impact is. So I see it in the clients that walk through our door, and I see it with the people that I lead, in that they want to feel safe and secure in that I'm taking their mental health into consideration with regards to the type of work I'm giving them, the amount of work that I'm giving them. And with regards to the clients that we talk to, there's a massive impact when they feel that isn't being considered at all by their leaders and their managers. They don't feel validated.
Okay. Mr. Nito, let's welcome you. Thanks. Got a couple of questions, but jump right in, whatever you want to share initially. No next question? All right. Who do you think is going to win the election? No, sorry. Sorry, wrong notes, ma'am. Wrong notes. Sorry. That's for the next segment. Just messing. We look at it, and this is part of my deliberate approach, because too many times in our work, right, we don't realize how either consciously the employee will deflect, the employee will try to mask, just like we do in our personal dynamics. So let me just ignore that for a second and be specific. Mr. Dunkley shared, the notion of how employers sort of want to make sure they're working right. We heard the stats from Dr. Boyd and Dr. Levine. And just going back to today's generation relative to their approach to employment, the things they're looking for, things like how employers are being rated in terms of good place to work. The idea that some employers will look at attracting a certain clientele or a certain sort of cadre of employees based on what their offerings. From your perspective and looking into the field, the evolution of how we approach mental wellness today versus what may have been in textbooks way back when, how do you see that evolution, and how do you see that sort of translate into a working environment?
So back in the day, it was, again, more focused on that emotional behavioral aspect. Like, how can we fix this area, right? And more so when it comes to mental health, it's still very stigmatized, right? Especially when it comes to the workplace, mental health in the workplace. That stigma around, okay, I'm not feeling well because of the pressure this job is putting on me. It's not looked at what needs to be changed in the job. It's looked at as what needs to be changed in the person.
So I wrote down the phrase Yappa syndrome. Who familiar with that? No, she Googling. and the reason why is that, thank you for setting this up. So we collaborated earlier. We did. And the employee of yesteryear, young professional, feeling a sense of burnout, but not quite sure why. All the pressures from the M&As, for instance, not S&Ms, and not showing what to do, goes to the physician, most likely is the GP, but no physical symptom, but just lethargic and the like. Today, now, let's get you fixed, let's get you checked, let's get you. But back then, and that term came into vogue, thankfully, and short-lived. But we see the difference today to what happened. Dr. Button.
Yeah, I think that, I know we see a lot of that. I'm sure the other practices do as well, where people are having, especially in Cayman, more the somatic symptoms with stress. And I think that, kind of going along with that as well, with the way that, seeing the employee as the problem, also just being very reactive. I know since I've been home, we'd often be brought in to talk about burnout and how are we going to, kind of fix things at the end stages, right? Like, how do you identify someone who's burnt out? What can you do with someone who's burnt out? Can we get them counseling? Can we get them in for an assessment? But I think that at least the bigger companies have moved more towards more of a proactive rather than a reactive stance, which can be helpful. I know that we're being brought in a lot more to do more on wellness and support and trying to kind of support employees before they get to that point.
Right. If I might ask, and just generally, but like Ms. James first, just trying to look at, because sometimes we fail to appreciate where we are because we're unwilling to look at what was previously. And if we do, look back with an eye that is more judgmental and condemning as to, right? So if we look at today and we understand that an employee, and I can think of examples global, but even locally, all of a sudden, and I use the word deliberately, so you guide me to, I replace it. Oh, the employee snaps. The employee walks off the job and says whatever, and there's even country songs about it. But without appreciating the pressures that employee was feeling, the financial statements need to be done, and to have the resources, demands of clients, you name it. And Ms. Shannon, you want to maybe give an assist to Ms. James?
I I can share about having experienced that personally. I can talk about it from the perspective of having demands placed on me by other entities and organizations, but also being a business owner. So understanding or trying my best to understand the needs of the people that work for me. And I think it is complex. And I think it's so great that we're here talking about it, because I think generations past, it would have been sort of, the hierarchy was way more structured, and it was like, well, that's what you got to do as a young person coming in. You got to take your licks, you got to work, 80 hours, and then you can golf on a Friday afternoon when you're, 30 years into your career, right? And so we have had, there's, these generational changes, and I do think it's great that we're having this conversation, and that companies now are saying, how do we even consider this? Whereas maybe a decade or 2 decades ago, it wasn't considered, right? So you've always had your sick days, but there was not this sense of like, what are we doing within an organization to keep you healthy, right? It was like, we'll give you time off if you're sick, but that's about where it ends. And I think we're moving in the right direction as it relates to mental health. I do, in our work with a lot of organizations who we partner with to provide corporate wellness programs and workplace employee assistance programs, I see a real genuine desire and interest, a commitment to being more than just sort of a stamp, but really actually caring. I've seen some organizations who go far beyond what I personally would ever be able to do as a small organization to support the mental health of their employees. So I do think we're seeing a shift where companies are really recognizing there's a role for us to play. I think the other piece too is just socially and environmentally, people experience a lot of stress. And because they spend 9 hours of their day at work becomes this logical place where I look for solutions, right? But we're thinking about things like traffic, economics. You mentioned the connection between economics and psychology, right? I mean, you look at the cost of living, and all those things are adding stress onto all of us. And where do we go to seek answers for that? We often go the place we spend the most time, which for most of us is our workplace.
It's the escape, but it's also the employment. So specifically, Steve, given the evolution, I did, Dr. Borden knows this, I do. Unofficial, it's not empirical, it's not scientific. And I feel so good sometimes my friends like, you calling us again? So told them the topic, know the different businesses they own, and some of them we actually frequent, thankfully. Some advertise with us as well. And recognizing that there's a shift in the younger employee today. So those of us after a certain age, we went to work, we requested, just for vacation, for instance, we'd like to take vacation, we had to request a certain time in advance, it would be improved. A lot of the younger employees, and not just, Caymanians coming up, but specifically people coming from metropolitan areas elsewhere, they are, expecting that when they send in a request for vacation, it isn't they're requesting, they're telling.
They're notifying.
I will be taking vacation. And that led us to a couple of questions. So is that something that, in terms of taking ownership of your own well-being, and Dr. Shannon talked about, you work 8 hours and then 30 years in, you get to go to do the thing on a Friday afternoon that you finally earned your space and your place.
It's the old way of thinking,
right?
yeah.
That's the way. But now, is that a marked shift that this individual has seen in her organization, or is it, to your perspective, the newer entrant into the workplace is taking more ownership of his or her time?
Yeah, for sure. We all want a bit of autonomy in our life, right? We all want to feel independent in how we can maneuver and spend our time. And again, if we're spending 9 hours a day at work, we do want to ensure that the time that, when we sign that agreement for, that we can get it back, right? And if there are blackout periods to those times, like that being notified ahead of time versus like, I put this time in and now, okay, maybe not, right? So it's like, this is something that we agreed to. So we want to, I think the younger generation, again, is that expectation of, this is my time. This is something I earned when I actually signed the dotted line to say, hey, I'm a part of this job now,
Okay. Mr. Doctor, you referenced in our last discussion when you were on about the work-life balance, right? And I asked, well, is it work-life balance or is it life-work balance? And is it, not just semantics? So to Mr. Dean's point, the employers today recognizing that the employees coming in,
right?
Autonomy, it's a great word. Hope I can find that. It's good. But how do we make sure that at the end of the day, your paycheck is on? If you're the owner of the business, your dividends, if you're the employer and you're making sure the business functions, you want to deliver the professional service. So in that space, how that employee is impacted by the working environment and how the employee impacts the working environment.
Right. Yeah, I think just following on from what Mr. Nita was saying, building on the idea of autonomy is really important with regards to improving mental health and, as a result, improving outputs and productivity for an organization. And a lot of the time, one thing to kind of keep in mind is as a leader or a manager, there are certain things that, need to get done. So maybe what we can do is, okay, well, let's say you work for me and I say, well, this quarter, Mr. Ebanks, this is what I need. Okay. I will give you the autonomy to deliver that however you want, right? I'm not going to tell you how, but you have the power and the choice and the control to figure out how you're going to do that for me. As long as I get the bottom line, I'm happy. Doesn't really make a difference to me how you did it, as long as it's legal. But just that alone, and giving an employee a chance to have some control over their work life. Because a lot of the time when it comes to work stress and work-life balance, it's the fact that we're coming here and someone's telling me what to do for 8 hours every single day.
Okay. What with that, unless Dr. Bonner or Dr. Levine wants to jump in, I want to maybe add more to that. But
for me, I often hear about work-life balance. But for me personally, I've coined another phrase. I actually call it work-life priority. And why do I say that? And I have a perfect example there. It's actually bringing me back to my childhood with that Lego. Can I borrow that, please? Weird.
Okay, be careful.
You have to give it back,
Yeah.
And you have to fly it over.
So, thank you. So in acting, in theater, we call this the life theater. So we know balance. Balance is about what? Equilibrium. So this is work-life balance, or this is supposed to be work-life balance. But do we really have a work-life balance, or is it work-life priority? Because the reality is that at work, and at work you're mostly
you might want to be mindful.
You're in dangerous water.
At work you're mostly in a priority state, giving most of your life to priority. Fly back. And then when you return home, you're so tired that the home life is almost obsolete, and it's just so ironic. Literally over the weekend, I was chatting with a friend of mine for literally just about an hour, and the person said to me, "Well, you know what, Ian, I realized that I don't do any physical work. My work is administrative, but when I go home on evenings, I'm so tired." I say, yeah, because you're using all your brain power. You're using, because your brain uses 20% of your energy resources, so you're using your oxygen and you're using the glucose. So at the end of the day, you are what? You are literally tired, not psychologically, mentally, but then you're also tired in your body.
You almost make me want to stop a joke. That's why politicians and talk show hosts, we're not using the brain so we can talk. You see, you shouldn't. Talk to.
Well, and I think the flexibility. Mr. Nita talked about kind of how younger people are looking at having different requests. I think even adding to a lot working from home, flexible hours. There's a lot of things that are coming up these days that weren't options before, and. Maybe one of the things that came out of COVID that actually was helpful was, realizing that there are more options that puts more burden on employers for having to figure it all out. But I think there's a lot of opportunities that come from it. And actually, so I've heard as well, the balance idea is, I know where it's coming from, but it's hard because it sounds like there is a perfect balance. It sounds like there's an answer to it. You just got to figure it out. But really, there's so much more than just work and life. You know, there's so many things that go into it. I've actually heard it termed as, and it is about prioritizing and what's important to you and reflecting on that, but terming as a mosaic, you know, having all the different pieces and how they fit together. And I like that because that can evolve and that is different and that there is no right answer. It can be different for everyone. It can be different for the same person at different times. Right. But I think that employees are advocating more and expecting more, as Mr. Jason has said, to get the support and respect and having some options as well.
Right.
I think that's coming home, you know, I think realizing that the workplace in Cayman is not where they are in the States. And so, you know, I think that the companies are trying to do better at understanding things and being mindful, you know, especially when people are receiving services, that they are helpful and not trying to pry or not trying to impose as well.
All right. So when we come back from the news break and, you know, remaining half hour, we can maybe talk about some of those things. How do we make that work for customer, you know, for your colleague, you know, and for the rest of us? All right, join us after the break. It's, you know, our monthly Mental Health Matters. Please stay tuned.
The rich flavors of Italy just arrived at Subway. Say ciao to the Italianos. Our 3 new Subway series recipes, carefully crafted with an Italian flair. Try the Hot Shot Italiano for an enticing and zesty touch. The tastier than ever Ultimate BMT, generously stuffed with a mix of ham, pepperoni, and salami. Or go all in with the creamy chicken bacon Alfredo. New Subway series Italianos. Chef-crafted greatness in every bite. Elevate your game only at Subway. Delizioso.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
The DVDL Customer Support Unit is now open. Customers can book appointments for written and driving tests through DVDL's hotline at 945-8344. That's 945-8344.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Prescription refills made easy at Savannah Pharmacy. WhatsApp your prescription refills to 929-5045.
This is the People's Radio Station. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
I'm April Cummings with your latest headlines. Labor market estimates from the Labor Force Survey Spring 2024 show the unemployment rate at 2.8%. The total labor force increased by 6.9%, and the employed labor force was estimated at 61,003, an increase of 6.5 compared to spring 2023. The number of unemployed people was estimated at 1,740. In international headlines, the 45,000 dock workers at East and Gulf Coast ports are returning to work after their union reached a deal to suspend a strike that could have caused shortages and higher prices if it dragged on. The International Longshoremen's Association is suspending its 3-day strike until January 15th to provide time to negotiate a new contract. Israel has carried out another series of punishing airstrikes today, hitting suburban Beirut and cutting off the main border crossing between Lebanon and Syria for tens of thousands of people fleeing the Israeli bombardment of the Hezbollah militant group. The overnight blasts in Beirut's southern suburbs sent huge plumes of smoke and flames into the night sky and shook buildings miles away in the Lebanese capital. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings from Radio Cayman's Newsroom.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Layman E. Scott Senior High School, formerly known as Cayman Brack Secondary Modern School and Cayman Brack High School, officially opened on January 23, 1967. With 73 students and 4 staff members under the leadership of its first principal, Layman E. Scott Sr. The school was renamed Layman E. Scott Senior High School on April 20, 2011, in honor of Scott, who passed away on December 25, 2010.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. The idea of our monthly mental health matter is always facilitated by Dr. Alexandra Boyd, and this month, Dr. Ian Levine. So good to be able to say Dr. Shannon Seymour. I want to just celebrate you. I mean, I remember when Dr. Walton was joining. This study that goes into that. Maybe Dr. James one day. You never know. Definitely. It doesn't have to be. And whether it's that level of academic accomplishment aside, it's the interest, the aptitude, the interest, above all. And Mr. Dunkley, from sort of the corporate perspectives, you look across the table at your colleagues, and then the governmental role at the Counseling Center. For some listening, they may think, well, that's a government agency, but the same level of expertise, experience, commitment, it's there, and it's expected to be there.
Yeah.
So is it then, I want to come back to Mr. Needham in a second again, but is it then that from that perspective of a corporate, quote, private sector employer, and then a government entity that delivers for the employee in terms of mental wellness, are the expectations any different? Is it the process any different?
No, I don't think the expectations are different, because it's not as if government employees and corporate employees don't speak to each other and don't know each other.
Okay.
So people are communicating and they're understanding, okay, well, you have this quality of life, you have this, get this from your employer. I'm entitled to that as well. And I think both corporate and government, as Dr. Shannon said, are clearly making strides in the right direction. But there's still a long way to go. There's still a massive way to go.
Is it then, because I think we all alluded to at some point, Dr. Boyden gave us the stats in terms of the financial impact in terms of lost productivity. We also recognize, Dr. Shannon talked about the sick days. Yeah, you'll get them, but what are we doing to, as we hear it, prevention is better than cure. But it's only measured in that sense. Is it then, Dr. Seymour, from that perspective, are we looking at that investment in the mental wellness of the corporate environment as such, or is it actually a cost and a necessity to check a box to make sure that we have this wellness program? The insurance covers the $50 or whatever it is. I'm not trying to be facetious, not argumentative, but for us to recognize that this is significant because it translates into dollars and cents as well as cents.
Yeah. I think there probably is quite a bit of box ticking going on, because that's how change happens, right? We have to first make something kind of a requirement before then we start to sometimes see the benefit of it, right? And so we might have to tell some companies, you have to provide pension, and there was lots of pushback, why fight, and then as a society we start to see the benefit of that, right? And as companies we can play our role in it. And I think the same is true for health insurance. There was back in the day you didn't have to provide health insurance for your employees, right? And so now there's this now we know it's a law. We tick a box. Some people do it and go beyond what is required of the law because they recognize the value and the benefit. And I think we're moving in that direction as it relates to corporate wellness and to this understanding of wellness and mental health well-being. So I do think some people might say, yeah, we're going to do this today. We're going to tick a box. But I think that's where we need to start, because if we don't start there, then we don't get the opportunity to move to where we start to see the value of it. And it could be, we work with companies who have retained our services so that their employees can come to us for services. Now, some people would say, we could increase outpatient mental health benefits with some legislative change, and then companies wouldn't have to do this because everybody would have access to quality mental health care through their insurance. But we're not there. And so then the responsibility for that mental health well-being often falls to the employer to provide those, whether it's, the opportunity to come have a couple of sessions at my clinic or at somebody else's clinic. That is starting to happen.
Right. If I then may ask, Ms. James, those boxes that we tick, because many of us are good at ticking boxes, right? What are some of those boxes, that we should be checking? I mean, if you had to be designing that checklist, and you were, that consultant hired by that company to make sure that we're making that change happen. What sort of things are we asking? What are we looking at delivering to attract the employee of today?
I think in addition to obviously your vacation days, as well as the health pension, they're also looking for those mental health days, those wellness days, right? So that you can have them on. I don't have to use my vacation days to prioritize my mental health. I don't have to use my sick days to prioritize my mental health. I actually have days for this where I can say to my employer, hey, I just need to prioritize my mental health today. Like, today is not a great day for me.
All right, so I asked that, and I want to come to Dr. Levine. I'm not 100% sure. I thought the company that I was working for a couple of decades ago had a small office here, large multinational organization. I thought it was like 1.2 million people.
Wow.
It's a huge number. They had its own university, healthcare system. It had fun. It was amazing. And what is now that sort of personal learning development plan that everybody had? This company was innovative. to the point where just trying to access that understanding for some of us, we were confused. Well, we just finished universities. I've been 15 years in the field. What is it you're asking? That thing that company was doing was so innovative, so advanced that they were way ahead of it. And one of the things was the thing you said, I'm not sure what they called it, but like the mental health days. You had two and you had to take them. You had to take them.
That's cool.
And it was the vacation plan, the pay, everything was great. And numbers at the end of the year going, but you couldn't take it as an add-on to extra vacation days. It was in addition to your sick days. But these were days you just had to take. And I say that mindful that one of us in the office here coming towards the end of that sort of, it wasn't the calendar, but it was the employees sort of yearly calendar, and was told, listen, you have those 2 days left, you take them off. He thought he was being suspended. He thought he was being, and it created anxiety. And I remember the head office calling and saying, no, we want you to just go do nothing.
Sure, yeah, these are important to us.
You just
you take this time, yeah.
And he was like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
2 days. And yet we...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I think I really like the idea of the employers are making a practical effort and making it very clear. Okay, these are days specifically for your mental health.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah,
it's absolutely a step in the right direction. But I'd also argue that there's still a ways to go in that by saying that okay, well these are your sick days and these are your mental health days. For me, well, why do we need to separate them? I'd like to think about it much more holistically, like wellness. Like if I've got a cold, I'm not well enough to come into work. If I'm feeling particularly anxious or depressed, it's no difference to a physical illness. And as soon as we separate them, we're kind of saying that we talk about the fact that we're more open about talking about our mental health and it's not as taboo anymore. But by separating them, we're actually implying that one is different to the other, and they're not.
I fully agree with you.
They're the same.
Right? And like I said, this was before Dr. Levine. This is long before 2000. Right. And so the level of innovation and I remember that particular fellow being anxious. Let's put it nicely. He thought he was being suspended for 2 days, no matter how much reassurance. I don't need to take it. I never took sick days. It was a badge of honor. I've been here forever. I've never been sick. It wasn't being asked for, being paid for it. And you could take it. You didn't have to give notice, right? You could just call up that morning and say, hey, I don't feel like I'm taking a day off. You could take them in succession. You could take one at a time. And he hadn't taken, and I never forget that. Dr. Pond.
Well, no, it speaks to the culture, right? It speaks to the culture because I was like, and companies can provide all of this, but if it's understood that they're doing this because they're checking boxes because they have to, you may not be willing to do it anyway.
Right.
I was working with a friend preparing a workshop as well for a company, and she taught me about presenteeism. Yeah. That there's all this emphasis on showing up and being present and even using vacation time to catch up on work. That, that we have to be really mindful of the culture that we're bringing in, that we're creating, that is putting the pressure on people.
Yeah.
To prioritize that over, like you said, it was a badge of honor to not take a sick day.
Yeah.
But then what happens, right? You show up, you're less productive, you make other people sick, and really it's not very helpful. So it is a change in mind, and I was one of them.
Yeah.
Up until
I think it's cultural, huh?
I had kids.
Yeah.
And I realized how annoying it is to be sick and make other people sick.
And you also put your other colleagues you put them in a default position because you're saying Shannon never was working here for the last 20 years and she never took a sick day. So she's the star. I'm feeling sick. I'm really sick. So the pressure is not on me. What am I going to do? Am I going to call in sick or am I going to try to push through?
Yeah. And you know what? That's such an important thing because I'm learning that, right? I'm learning that as a leader, I also have to set an example. And I'm one that, thankfully, knock on something, is relatively good physical and mental health. And so the need to take a sick day is something that I tend to, if I get sick, it knocks me right out like for a week, but I have a pretty good immune system, and so I don't get sick a lot. And so I think there are sometimes inadvertently, and this is where leaders have to really think about these things, because I know I inadvertently can send a message that says sick days, you know,
are not a
good thing.
Right.
and I have to, as the leader, be mindful of what my own behavior demonstrates to the staff, right? And so I've been trying to get better at, if I do feel a little bit under the weather, and I would typically go to work, maybe be a little bit less productive, but to actually say, to model that this is good. Take care of yourself. If you're feeling under the weather, don't come to the office. But it has been a shift, and those of my staff are listening. They'll say, "Oh yeah, she never takes a sick day," and so there is this change that needs to happen from leadership. And oftentimes, I think the disconnect is that we have, like Miss Zenita, young people coming in with this much greater understanding of quality of life, much greater awareness of what makes them happy, right? And what they're looking for in a job, as opposed to when I joined the workforce 30 years ago, it was like, just get a job, right? And
for that 30-year pension.
Right, exactly. and so I think we've got this disconnect where it's people now of my age in leadership, and it's people of Miss Zenita's generation coming in, and we have to be able to sit and talk to each other. Like, I find this really helpful because we can learn from one another, and we can understand what I'm thinking is a great place. Somebody else might come in and not experience that. And I think, Ian, your point really struck me, because it's something I've reflected on a lot, is like, what's the message sent by leadership related to taking these days? Or if we say we're going to do this workshop and somebody wants to attend it, what's the message that's sent when they want to attend it, right? Or we say, here's, you can do this to take care of yourself, but if somebody actually accesses it, we provide a membership, a subscription to the Calm app for everybody on our staff, right? And so they can access everything and anything. They don't have to pay or only get the little one part and then get blocked, right? And I was just looking at the other day, and it's amazing how many people are accessing it, but it's also amazing how many people aren't accessing it. So I want to encourage those kinds of things. I think leadership, you can provide something, but then you also need to be aware of whether or not are people accessing it, and is it what they need? Because maybe it's what I thought they needed, but maybe it's actually not what they need.
So with that, I for those who are listening, and this has been so informative, and it actually helps me in another endeavor I'm about to pursue, is a monthly mental health matters show. For those who are listening, and we're talking about understanding and awareness of mental health in the workplace. Dr. Alexandra Boyd, Dr. Levine, Dr. Shannon Seymour, Mr. Jason Dunkley, and I think we just nominated it. Mr. Anita Jean is the spokesperson for
the voice the generation.
And with that in mind, as I turned that coin over, there was not that long ago where in the workplace, absenteeism was looked at, because for some employees and employers, that sick day, right, was seen as some employees as an extra vacation day. The legislation created X days that you were entitled to by law. You could take it. Then a practice evolved that if you were out, sort of habitual, you could be required to provide a doctor note to justify it. And you see the tug and the pull in terms of how an employee and employer combative. A project I did was to incentivize a certain employee. If you are not genuinely ill and you come to work and your sick days were not used, you get paid for it. So I incentivize. Why I say that is that here we are seeing a mark shift, in 30, 40 years. If I might, Mr. Deans, come back to you again, because I think the employee and the employer of today, the public policy advocate, as well as legislation that may come down, as well as workplace policies, are going to be markedly shift in them, and could be negative if we don't get it right. So we're not talking about being lazy or being inattentive or unwilling to work, but we're talking about people saying, what was it? I want more autonomy. Help us to understand it, because me and Miss Shannon, we're in a certain age group, right? The rest of us what do we need to do, and how do we do that to make that work?
What do you need to do in order to bring more autonomy into the workplace?
Yeah, and make it that attractive employee, or that space that is empowering, engaging, enriching. I mean, all the nice words that we use that we don't really understand.
Right. So I think it really goes back to that flexibility, right?
Okay.
So again, the flexibility that came with COVID, allowing people to work from home, having at least one or two work from homes days a week, that definitely helps in terms of bringing that autonomy, because it again gives people a bit more, they feel like they have a bit more control over their lives. And that's what we look for in every day. We look for that control. Like, how can we grab that control, right? And for us, we all are pretty much client-based. So again, allowing the autonomy to schedule our clients.
Okay.
So
take that. And since you mentioned another horrible word that we use where about is on the house arrest. Oh my God. We saw so many things that potential could have been positive. The notion of working, what we call it, remote work. Wow.
Remote work.
I think it was the 90s, Miss Shannon. Telecommuting was a thing. All of a sudden, now technology is coming in, and you could do this thing. Didn't really take off. Fast forward, 3 decades later, and it's almost proven. Productivity for those who were, working from home increased for some, not for all. But companies now are bringing under the threat of losing your job. You better come back into the workplace. We need to see you, manage you, monitor you, make sure that you're performing. Some employers making it challenging. Others are saying, I don't care. As Mr. Duncan said, I want you to be your best, so that at the end of the day you produce your most, so I can make, that balance. Is it something that we can strike easier, or is it something that's going to be a toss-up between compliance or being terminated?
I think it'll definitely be a toss-up for sure, right? Because again, you don't know how that person's going to perform at home. So it's, again, having someone to monitor that productivity, as well as, finding that, like the word we've been throwing around, balance. So again, if they're going home and they're not being productive, then it comes back to the employer to say, okay, this is what this is going to look like for you, versus someone who is home and being productive, right? Especially if you can monitor the productivity has gone up for that person.
Right.
So again, it's finding that balance between the employee and the employer.
And I think the key is the option, because there's also some people that work from home and hate it, right? And don't want, not just the ones that are not productive, that probably actually really enjoy it, but there's some that really don't like it, and that's where during COVID, that's where we were brought on all the shows to talk about how to manage stress at home, because you have no boundaries, you don't have the commute, you never leave your house, you don't see other people, you don't have the water fountain talk, like there's all these things that come in. So I think it really is about the flexibility and being open to that. And people speaking up, knowing it's an option, or it might be an option, right? There's going to be some places where that's just not physically possible, like flight attendants. It couldn't work from home, right? So there's going to be some things you physically some jobs you physically can't, but knowing the options. But also I think that's important to encourage people as well to look at what is in their control, even if they have a job where maybe working from home or flexible hours aren't an option. Even there's some places will work, and therapists can schedule late into the night as well, if they can adjust.
You're working.
And other places as well for people who work very well in the morning or late at night. So it's about the flexibility and the option. But I think employees as well, and people seeing what's in their control and focusing on that and doing what they can. So, like even when people come in with me with difficulties working, what's the problem at the workplace? Is it the workload? Is it too high? Is it too low? Is it restrictions? Is there bullying going on? Like what is the concern, and working from there, helping them to maybe work on stress management and, prioritizing self-care for themselves, or addressing concerns or advocating for themselves in the workplace. So, I think looking at what can be done for the person is important too, and that we have so many agencies around the table now, and there's so much available in Cayman, free of charge by the government, private places as well. Encouraging people as well to, if you feel like you might need help, or you're just interested in having a bit more support in what you're doing, even coaching as well can be hugely helpful. So, yeah.
Mr. Dr. Levine, did you want to jump in, Jason?
No, I was just going to make the same point that you just made, Dr. Bodden, around. I think it's it's important for employers to be mindful and be aware of what the behaviour is telling them in terms of, okay, well, if so and so doesn't want to come into work, maybe it's not just about productivity. There are, as you said, there are other stresses, other things going on that need to be explored and addressed. So don't just think about it in terms of productivity.
Yeah, and it's more than productivity than that's measured by how much money is cost made. Dr. Levine.
And I just made a note so I wouldn't forget, but I wrote here the employee's behavior, even as you said, would be that gauge for the employer.
Okay. So the employee's behavior.
Yes.
Being responsive, cognizant, acknowledging, empathetic, have a sense of emotional intelligence.
Everything.
And
even when you were speaking relative to the having that level of autonomy for the employee, the employees, their behavior, whether good or bad, negative, positive, will be the indicator to that employer. You know what? Should Ian Levine be allowed to continue working from home, or is Ian Levine okay to continue working from home? So there's also an awesome responsibility placed on the employee, with equal responsibility placed on the employer, and the employer obviously will be the decision maker within that process. And once again, as we are sitting around the table, it has to be a conversation.
I think one of the things so on one hand, I think the advent of technology that allows for remote working and Zoom and Teams and all those things we got really good at during COVID, and study over, abroad and online. While that's really made this possible, I think it's also contributed to why we have so much more workplace stress. Maybe I shouldn't say more, but right now is because, 30 years ago, you'd leave work at 5 or 6 or 7, whatever time you left work, and you didn't get a text or an email or WhatsApp from your boss or your supervisor. You waited until the next morning when you got back into the office, and then you started your work again, whereas there's really been a blurring of work and personal life with the arrival of technology. And so many people walk around with their desktops on their phones. They are constantly checking work communication channels. And so this work-life balance that we've all agreed doesn't exist has even become sort of more emphasized because we're never really, for most of us, are completely disconnected from work. And I think that adds to this sense of stress from work because, and whether it's your employer telling you or not, you are checking, right? Like you're looking at your emails, you're looking at your WhatsApp, you're looking at your calendar for tomorrow, you're thinking you're getting maybe some work done. Whereas I think back to say our parents' days, they would have left the office at whatever time, 5 or 6, and they wouldn't have known what was going on at the office at all. No idea until they arrived back at the door at 9 o'clock. And so there was really this clear lineation between this is my personal time to spend with my family, to rest, to engage in sport, to engage in leisure, to engage in whatever I'm interested, church, politics, exercise, whatever. Whereas now I see so many people, they're doing something that's supposed to be leisure, relaxing, and they're checking their phones and they're hold on, give me 1 second, I just got to send this work email. And so I think if a company is expecting that, there needs to be conversations around that. But oftentimes, maybe a company is not expecting that, but as people, we want to always, I think most people want to do their best. I really believe that most people are genuinely wired to do their best, right? And so sometimes it's saying, I had to say to somebody on vacation recently, please turn your work phone off. Why are you messaging me with a question? You are on vacation, right? And I've, again, tried to model that because it's really easy when I'm on vacation to just be sitting down working. So I'm guilty, like 100% guilty of it, which means sometimes as a leader, I don't always see it in others. But I do think companies can help their employees by modeling that clear separation. This is not work time. I expect you to be working during work time, without a doubt. But on your personal time, there needs to be that clear separation of work. And I think now it's very difficult with email, GChat, Google Drive. Your office is on your phone, and it's what allows us to work effectively remotely, but it's also what allows us to sometimes never have the separation that we need and the break from work that our brains need and our mental health needs, that complete separation.
It's also the expectation sometimes, right? Dr. Levine, I know we're getting close to it, but...
And I'm glad you say that, Dr. Shannon, because we have to be intentional. And when you mentioned that, something came to me. You actually brought something to me. Just recently, my wife and I, we were doing a walk, and there were 2 folks behind us walking. and all they spoke about for that hour was work. Literally, we heard the work conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife said, you know what, these persons are, we are walking, having this fun community walk, and these two persons are just talking work. And my wife is saying, but for us, we are speaking about the plants. You can literally feel the coolness on the leaves and the smell of the green, and we were like mindful, literally mindful. And I'm not just using buzzwords because we are on this mental health show, but we were actually engaged in nature.
Yeah.
So as you said, we literally have to be intentional about literally separating what we call work and what we define as our leisure time.
Mm-hmm.
And even as you say, it has to be a conversation from management. You know, you're off, turn your phone off. You're on vacation, turn your phone off. You're on one day off, turn your phone off, or become misty at least for that moment.
Yeah. It's cultural. I think it's also that notion that has to
generational too.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I'm so glad you shared it, because yes, today we have the technology is instantaneous, but not long ago, you referenced the 90s, for instance, they would have posted notes when they came into being. You left work on Friday, and you were apprehensive at the earliest of what you were going to see on your desk come Monday morning from your coworker, the boss, so to speak. And that created in you that less than settled mindset for the entire weekend.
Okay.
And it's, so what I said is that it's still no different in a sense of what we saw in the workplace in terms of the potential negative impact on the co-worker. What are we doing today that is different? Now, as we close out the discussion, that could be the sort of point. Yeah, it went fast. We had fun, right? And you know how I know my beard started to grow. Anyway, just we're going to start with you. We're going to go to, Dr. Shannon and Ms. James, Dr. Levine, and then we finish with Dr. Bodden. Whatever you want to share, you can pick up on what I said. You can say, you know what, let's forget it and let's go for lunch. I mean, I'm keen. A list of all beef and beans right now would be good, man.
No, I'll just first and foremost just like to say thank you to everyone else for a great conversation. I've really enjoyed listening and being involved. If I can just share a little bit of information about what we're doing next week with regards to World Mental Health Day and prioritising mental health in the workplace. Anyone who hasn't experienced services at the Counselling Centre, we're having an open day on Wednesday the 9th. Our doors are open 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. We're at Adonis House on Fort Street. You can come along and find out what we're all about, meet all our therapists and learn a bit about every single one of our groups. It'd be great to see you there.
Okay.
Because all your services are free.
All our services are free.
Yeah, so I always do a shout out. I was thinking I'm going to have to say something else today because I got Counselling Centre here with me.
That's why I gave you the last
free of charge to anyone. Yeah, I know. So I always do my little spiel. But we've got them here today, which is awesome.
You should pay her. Dr. Seymour.
We're broke.
I would just... I think it's a really important topic. I think it's important that we highlight it, and I think the need to highlight it is the importance of it is evident in the fact that it is the theme for this year's World Mental Health Day. But I also think that if you're an employer and you're listening, to be mindful of this all year long, and it's not easy. Like, it's not an easy juggling act, right? Of trying to keep the bottom line looking okay and keep employees' needs met and give them the autonomy. Like, it's not easy. I don't think anybody's expects this to be a magic recipe, but keep conversations going. And I think to those organizations that are really proactive in providing support to their employees, that's something to be celebrated and to recognize that, because I do think I think it's really important, and I'm grateful always for this opportunity to come on and speak.
Yeah, so I just want to say, everyone, thank you for a great conversation as well. And it's definitely going to take some time to bridge that gap. There's no exact science to how to have that work-life balance. And I did like that you mentioned, instead of calling it work-life balance, work-life priorities, right? Figuring out what's important to you and just going from there and prioritizing your day based on work, based on life, and whatever other personal obligations that you have. So thank you.
My turn?
Hey, I delegate.
Yes, sir. So we know that our brain thrives in an environment which is optimistic. And I want to say too, I know we place lots of responsibilities on the employers, but I also want to say to the team members and the employees, if you feel overwhelmed at work, if you feel that burnout is coming, if you feel stressed out, that you should have that conversation with your supervisor, your manager, and just be candid. Say, you know what, I need a break, I feel overwhelmed, I think this workload is a bit too much for me. And I think that once we have that open dialogue with our leaders, our supervisors, our managers, that we can create a better work culture, which is, at the end of the day, we know what is going to happen, profitability and productivity.
So don't wait till that country song comes in there.
Definitely not.
Just checking. Talk to one.
Just, any employers that are interested can feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Any employees that are listening that have any questions or feeling overwhelmed, in addition to all the services offered at the Counseling Center free of charge to anyone in Cayman and all the brilliant programs at FRC. TCC is 9498789. FRC is 9490006. Lots available. There's lots of help available. Whether you come in for counseling or coaching, there's no wrong way to start, and there's so much available. Start with your workplace as well. As Ms. Shannon said, that a lot of workplaces might have contracts with programs as well where they provide services free to you that are confidential, so that can be an option as well. So looking into the different options that are available. Yeah, and we're all here to help, and it's a better place than it was a long time ago, but it is a work in progress, but we're all a part of the change.
Well, thank you all very much, and thanks for allowing me to find not just fulfillment, my joy and purpose, but through your presence, understanding how we can make a very significant impact. So thanks very much. To our listeners, open line for the next segment. So join us. Stay tuned.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone, and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just the delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walkers Road. Urgent care right now.
Marketers, creatives, and visionaries, are you ready to be inspired? Join SIMPA's 11th annual marketing conference, The Connect Experience, under the theme Icons and Innovators, October 11th and 12th at Hotel Indigo. Discover the latest trends in marketing innovation, sharpen your skills in hands-on workshops, and connect with industry leaders who are changing the game. Plus, celebrate the best of Cayman's marketing and creative professionals at SIMPA's Awards Gala, honoring the icons and innovators in the field. Don't miss out. Secure your tickets online at simpa.ky/events.
The Accountant General advises that the Treasury Department and the Treasury Cashier Counter will be closed to the public on Wednesday, 9th October for a staff retreat. Normal business hours will resume on Thursday, 10th October at 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. respectively. The Treasury Department apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thank you for joining us. And thanks again to Dr. Alexandra Borden for, what seems like almost a decade and a half facilitating our monthly Mental Health Matters show. And we had a guest from Baptist International, Baptist Health, joining us. But because of the weather flowing through that area and into Florida. That's going to be rescheduled. I only say that to remind us of two things. Just be prayerful, for all when weather systems are passed, but just in general, and in particular, whether it's the Gulf states or just in the Gulf itself and into Mexico. Just keep them in prayer. As we take this call, hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hi, how are you today?
Not too bad, not too bad. I know that your guests have left.
Yes,
ma'am. And I thank them. They're all right, but you can hear that they were not in my year, or maybe not their parents either. But because it just recently we have got overpowered with all this technology. But I think that employers also should be checking with their employees. How are you doing today? Is this okay with you? I'm going to be checking on your work. And then some employees have their share of faults too, because they don't participate enough in what they have to do. And then you'll find some employees that is so dedicated that they can't let go their phones even when they're on a break or even when they're on a vacation. So it brings a lot of stress. I say this much. It would keep a lot of doctors and cardiologists and all of that in business, because stress. We didn't have no phones, but yet when we went home from work, most of the time it was no offices, it was hotels and very few office and hotels and things like that we work in tourism and things like that. We forgot about those things because we were not hooked up to a telephone that is always to our ear like this one is to me now. And buying more and more expensive phones for what? But employers should check on a monthly basis or whatever, depends on the size of their employment. How is their employees doing and how are they getting on and things like that? But they don't anymore, or very few do. We had people that checked on us just about in the busy season, just about every other day. How you holding out, darling? And that kind of thing. It's not like that anymore. Cayman is like the rest of the world, a dog and phone hooked up to your ear all the time and thinking about work. When you finish work, you shouldn't think about work. If you got a family, think about them and what they need to do or where they need to go and things like that, not about work. But, of course, I'm not an employer, or not even an employee anymore.
Well, you've worked, and earned that opportunity to be there. But let me then ask, is it just in Cayman, or is it globally? Is it just in the Western world? Is it everywhere that works?
It's I would say global, but it is in the civilized. It is in the civilized world. More in the Western world, and like I said, more in the civilized world. Because I've been to places that, I work and they go and they work, they get off of work, and they go and have coffee or tea or I don't want to get you hungry. while you're there.
Well, today
You
is.
know that kind of thing. It's join friends. I've been trying forever to get people to go out to breakfast. I never heard as much excuses in my life. You know, I got to do this for my daughter. I got to do this. I got to clean out my closet. But I'm only asking for an hour for us to be together and talk about old times, what it used to be, and now what it is now. But I agree with you about not even speaking about that, but agree with you. Let us pray for the people in Florida, and it seems like Mexico going to get it again as well. But especially the people in Florida, and we have students there that is probably going to try to get home no later than tomorrow, and things like that. We should be praying for them, for ourselves, and the way that now Cayman is so modernized, and let us try to be family that don't forget family and things like that.
Right.
That I know that you know about and probably still know about. But I thank you for the time, Dwayne.
You're most welcome.
And it was a good show, but tell them they're too young. They don't know. They don't know nothing about no rice and beans and stew beans and salt beans.
There you go. Thank you so much,
There
Mom.
you go.
All right, take
Thank you
care.
very much.
Yes, Mom. And with that, let's take this next call. Thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. Are you going to have more guests coming at 2 o'clock?
We were expecting from the FRC, the Family Resource Center, Miss Alicia Tugman.
Well, I don't think I want to talk because I only got 4 minutes.
You go ahead, man. We want to take a break up on what? You can talk. We listen. The guy said you got 7 minutes and 42 seconds.
You know, getting back to Miss Shirlene there with technology and everything. You know, one of the premiers came onto your station a long time ago and said, if Cayman doesn't get with the program, we will be left behind. And when I sit down and think about that, and from time to time to see where we come from and where the age we're going to is unbelievable, you know? So I didn't call for that, but I just had to add that into it.
Of course. You're welcome to share what you want.
Yeah, Sterling, can I piggyback on Friday in regards to the school bus and children?
Of course.
Okay, I just want to say that when my little friend from the block called in regards to the situation, Sterling, there's 3 sides to the story, and the third one is the truth of the story. I'm not here to disrespect anyone, and I'm going to stop using that term because you just got to speak your mind.
Right.
Sterling, I still say that child, it is so sad that happened to that little child and so small on top of it, you understand? And I apologize for all the bus wardens and all of the bus drivers, because let me tell you something. We're under a lot of heat out here. And when I say heat, I mean from parents about the children that we take back and forth. And Sterling, I tell you one thing. We bus drivers, we have our children at heart. We care for them. We try to instill positive into those children. We like to make them know when they're wrong from when they're right and so forth and so forth. We don't start dropping them, pick them up and drop them off and not even ask them how their day was or how are you or stuff like that, you know. But, Sterling, what are you doing with this road again? Oh, God. Anyhow, Sterling, I want to say that when Mr. Christian say, you know, get rid of the individual, that is easier said than done. Sterling, we having a problem with jobs in this island right now. And I had someone rise up against me, a Canadian family, who were trying to make me lose my job as a bus warden. And I felt like I conquered it because when I did my job and people want to hold the bus wardens and drivers responsible to a degree with their children. We can only be held responsible to a certain degree. And that's what a lot of people fail to understand. It's the same thing with the teachers at school. They are only having your children for X amount of hours, and after that, they're on their own to go home to their parents and so forth and so forth. You understand where I'm coming from? So I just want to say that, getting rid of the individual is not the key, because I've been here like 17 years now, Sterling, and the only thing they haven't done me on the bus, students haven't done me on the bus, is pick me up and throw me off the bus. But I have came to a lot of close blows, a lot of nasty words and threats and so forth and so forth. But that I'm just talking in general. But that's what's been happening for the years that I've been on there. But I love my job. And when I say I love my job, I don't love my job for the salary. Because the salary that we get as a bus warden, it can't cut the mustard. But we're thankful. The majority of us is thankful to have a job and to know that it's part-time. We can go and do something else for a couple hours, whatever the case may be. You understand? But I just want to say that that child had an option. He could have waited for the bus to come in, knowing it was a small bus to come into his road, if the bus going to his road. The parents could have made sure that the child had the bus to pick up the child, or the parents could have brought the child to the bus stop, or the parents could have said, you know what, it is too wet, the road is full of water. When you come back home, it's going to still be here. Just stay home for the day, which is not good, but it's kind of good that sense for that time of morning.
Right.
To have your foot wet for the whole day in school. You understand?
Yep.
So I just want to say that out here being a bus warden, it is not easy. And the first thing about getting rid of a bus warden, because then a child was walking into water. Kids walk in water all the time. Even at school, if they're playing, they go and wet themselves up with water. You understand, in their shoes. You know what the parents said a couple of weeks ago when you had that first, I think with our second bad weather, no, that first bad weather, I think it was. They say, oh, my children, they got their $100 shoes wet. Well, I got mine wet too, and mine's over 100 and change. You understand? And I'm not here matching no price with nobody, but I'm just saying, all of us is going through the same thing. And like one of your callers call and say that the system is not equipping us with certain things as wardens and as drivers. You understand? So I just want to say that today, Cayman, parents, listeners, and who don't have children in the school system, you have to look at it in a lot of different ways to see where it went wrong. There was a lot of options there for that little young boy. And I say it again, it was sad he had to go to school all day with a wet pair of shoes on. Very sad. And I hope today that he is fine. You understand? But we need to try to come together and work together. And parents need to work with us.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to get rid of me?
No, I would never put it that way. We do have another caller, but never get rid of you. No, don't ever think that.
Right.
Oh, don't.
Give them 2 more minutes. Parents need to work with us, too. Instead of coming to the school and want to fight the bus warden or threaten us, they need to find out what's the problem with their child before they come and want to jump on a warden or a driver. You understand? Everything has a little pros and cons in it. And the system, the school system, is so broad now that I don't know what it would take to really get it to come together and be a A1 system, even though the island is small. But we're so lapidated now and don't care. But if you go to school, you go to school, and if the system is right, it's right. If it's not right, it's not right. But then again, you got to come here and drink my milk and my honey, and they got to come and disrespect me and threaten me on my bus, and I can't go and complain to nobody. They need to find out what did the child do to make the bus warden or driver say, if you don't behave yourself, you cannot ride the bus no more because it's a privilege, and the privilege can be taken away. That is one of our things on our school bus. We just don't throw children off just for the fun of it. No, it got rules and regulations. And the way the traffic is on the roads right now, Sterling, you know how hard it is to keep children sitting down in a seat that has no seat belt, and that's why they have a warden on the bus. And I tell the kids over and over, have you all ever watched the U.S. news where buses are getting in accidents and the kids are getting killed or getting damaged and broken limbs and so forth? I say we are so blessed. And you all only got like a 20 minutes or 30 minutes ride to home. And you all just can't sit comfortable and enjoy the ride. Pretend you're in an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
You're going from West to Georgetown.
Yeah, well,
Bye.
a lot of things, you always share the causes of things. We do have the news break, though, but thank you for sharing, okay?
Okay, cool.
All right, have a wonderful afternoon, and hopefully get a chance to talk to you again soon. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. When we return, our scheduled guest from the Family Resource Center will join us.
If they are talking about us,
living in your head rent-free all this time,
we must be relevant. Radio Cayman since 1976. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. The Department of Agriculture's Animal Welfare and Control Unit is appealing for information after 2 dogs are found abandoned and severely malnourished in West Bay off Mercury Close. The dogs, an adult black and brown male and an adult white and gray female, were reported by concerned members of the public. We've posted photos of the animals on Radio Cayman's Facebook page. If you have any information about them or anyone who recognizes who they may belong to, please contact the DOA's Senior Animal Welfare Office. Your calls will be held in strict confidence. The numbers are 928-1153 or 947-3090. You may also email reportanimalcruelty@gov.ky. In international headlines, America's employers added a surprising strong 254,000 jobs in September, easing concerns about a weakening labor market and suggesting that the pace of hiring is still solid enough to support a growing economy. Last month's gain was more than economists expected and was up sharply from the 159,000 jobs added in August. The U.S. military strikes more than a dozen Houthi targets in Yemen today, going after weapons systems, bases, and other equipment belonging to the Iranian-backed rebels, this according to U.S. officials. Military aircraft and warships bombed Houthi strongholds at roughly 5 locations. The strikes come just days after the Houthis threatened escalating military operations targeting Israel after they apparently shot down a U.S. military drone flying over Yemen. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
Hey, welcome back, and thank you for joining us. Look at that. Monday is halfway through already, and each segment gets better. And now we have our good friends from the Family Resource Center joining us. It's Alicia Tugman, parenting practitioner. How are you, Ma?
I am good. Sterling, how are you?
I am very, very thankful. And if you were to list it, assembly would say, Madam Speaker, recognize. Thank you, Ms. Eva. It's a fantastic team. Huh? That's what we have here. So I appreciate everybody doing all their part. Well, thanks for coming on board. And as you introduced you, would you want to introduce your colleague, Ms. Tori?
Sure.
Or how would do that?
Yeah, of course. I'm alongside Ms. Tori Lewis. She's also a parent practitioner from FRC. Hi.
Well, I see why our parents and our grandparents look at us and go, "Who you for?" And then there are times when they go, I don't know how I mistake who you for. Miss Donna look just like you.
She'd love to hear that.
But no, see, this is for you when you grow up, you'll be beautiful like your mommy. She's an amazing person. Good civil servants, right?
Yes, sir.
And I want to share that as you were, Mr. Alicia, telling us about the idea of our discussion today, the working environment and our conversation earlier with the Dr. Borden and team as part of a monthly mental health matters show, we understand how significant that environment affects us, and it's whether it's work or whether it's school, and in this period we find ourselves, this device doesn't go away. That thing that is there, whether you think it's scrubbed or moved or whatever, may never. And so, well, I don't want to steal your thunder.
Yeah, don't.
You talk to me. Let me pretend that I have an idea what we're talking about.
No, definitely. But to preface, we just want to discuss briefly our Stood Up campaign. So this is something that we observe, or Cayman observes every October. The Stood Up campaign is our anti-bullying campaign, and we have 3 goals. The first one is to raise awareness and education on cyberbullying in the community. The second is to engage with the schools across our islands, Cayman Brac and Grand Cayman, to raise awareness of cyberbullying behavior and to also create a culture of upstanders and resilience. And then our third one this year is to empower parents with parenting strategies and tools to intervene with cyberbullying and victim behaviors. So the Sit Up campaign is where we talk about bullying, and we raise awareness of bullying and its behaviors, and we wear pink shirts to represent that. And of course, every year we come on here and we say, the story about a kid who was in Canada, and he was bullied for wearing a pink shirt. And to stand in solidarity, the students of the school decided to wear pink one day just to stand up to bullying. So that's why we wear pink. And I know a lot of times it's like, well, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is also in October and they also wear pink. But no, Stood Up is also pink too. So I think it's just a pink month.
And I'm glad that you referenced that, because when we look at those two things, there was a time when just the word cancer was whispered. And maybe there was an element of being stigmatized, perhaps, if you were perceived or even known to have been diagnosed with it. Similarly, with being bullied, being teased, being taunted, being, impacted in a negative way. Just like with the cancer awareness and education, the empowerment, the engagement. If your school, your community says to the behavior of one individual, playing music, having a barking dog, maybe acting a certain way at a certain time of the week or maybe just once a year, if that thing is condoned by the society, or at the very least not spoken against, it becomes the ethos. And not over there. Ms. Tori, I mean, how do we get the action of that one individual however long ago, and the wider community seen it, and in the Cayman context, whether it's littering along our roadways, or dumping in remote areas, or speeding on the roads, or whatever that thing that the society doesn't want, bullying in schools, bullying online, that we say no, this is not the practice, and this is not the ethos that we're going to inculcate. One person makes a difference, right?
Definitely.
So what do we do? How do we do it? How do we raise that awareness, that empowerment, that engagement, that education, that action? Yeah, Mr. Egman, okay. Why not?
Definitely. I think raising awareness, start having conversations, talking about it. But it's not only just, the simple ways to talk about it, of course, but bring it up in different conversations. Be intentional about the conversations that you're having with your family members, your coworkers, your peers at school, right? And just bring up a topic of like, hey, like, what do you think about this? Or what is your stance on this? Maybe looking in the community to different reported instances of bullying too, and asking them, like, do you believe that this is bullying, or is this teasing, or is this making fun? Like, what is like starting to have those conversations. And then the other side of it is also living it out, right? It's enough to talk about it, but if we don't stand up against it and if we don't live it out, then it's just becomes like another conversation that goes in the wind.
At home, even in our groupings, whatever that is like. But you reference, I think you said 3 words: bullying, teasing, or just making fun. Culturally, for some of that, there's no malice, so we go a little too far until we realize it. And other times, we're genuine apologetic, and you can't undo what was done, but you don't do it again. So in saying that, doesn't matter if it's any of those 3 things, or all those 3 things amount to the same thing.
No, it does. It does.
Okay.
And so the definition of bullying, I'd like to put it out there, is repeated acts of hostility or aggression where there is a perceived imbalance of power and the victim either cannot defend themselves or they're hurt about it.
Okay.
So versus teasing, right? Teasing tends to happen in an isolated event, one time, maybe two. It doesn't happen repeatedly, like especially if the person is hurt. Like if I tease Tori and she says, okay, like that kind of hurt, like she didn't laugh with me, and you can see that kind of hurt, or I may hold like a different position of power in that situation, I can say, okay, I won't do it again.
Right.
But if it's something that I dismiss and I keep on doing it and I know that she's being hurt by it, then that is considered bullying.
Okay, so let's take a school environment. It's a classroom. A student is doing something, and another student just finds it hilarious and is making fun, teasing for that lesson. 45 minutes long, most of that. Every time the student says or does or whatever, the other student, but it only happens that one lesson, and the impact the student is upset. Maybe trying to put on a brave face. It doesn't happen again. Not bullying. It was almost the whole lesson long, but then afterwards you go, oh, geez, I didn't realize that. That was good fun at your expense, but boy.
Yeah, it could be a bad joke. It's considered a bad joke. It's considered teasing, right? But teasing, I would say, like, you're kind of in the joke too. Like, if people tease me, and I'm kind of like laughing, like, haha, like, yeah, we get the joke. But a bad joke can also be something else, right? It's like, oh, that hurt. Like, that was a joke at my expense, like you said, and I feel hurt about it. But if it doesn't happen again, then it doesn't happen again.
Okay. And the reason is that I'm recognizing you're not talking about the semantics. It's about a consciousness on our part. I enjoy the company of Ray Banker and we banter on air, but it's the same thing off air. And, he'll put something on the shelf and he says, okay, let's put it here so that, it's out of your reach, right? And there's nothing about it. And he go, come, oh, let me wipe that off your face. Oh, ugliness can't come off. And there's nothing. But people will do things. So is there malice when we talk about bullying? Is malice important?
Yeah, the intention. Right?
Okay.
That intention piece is like you're intended to. And maybe you can make a joke and maybe you assume that, or if I make a joke about Tori and I assume she'll get the joke, like she'll laugh with me or she'll laugh along. But if my intention is I want to pull out or I want to highlight an insecurity and make Tori feel hurt about it, and I keep doing that is where the line gets drawn.
So is it then that in that case, the person who's being teased or whatever needs to say, listen, stop it. That may be funny. I don't find it funny or whatever. Or sometimes we just go along, get along. We don't say anything. It may or may not happen again. The person may or may not know that you were as impacted negatively as you were.
Yeah, I always advocate for people to speak up and use their iMessages too and say how you feel about it. So like I felt, like I understand the joke may have been funny, but I felt a way about it. Make it about, your feelings or, like say, I felt this way. Maybe you didn't intend for it to be that way, or maybe they did, but you want to speak on how you felt about it and say like, hey, I just appreciate that, we stay away from those kind of jokes when we're together.
Okay. Does it matter then that we're talking about bullying and we qualified, maybe say cyberbullying, and for someone, well, geez, it's just there. I mean, big deal, turn it off or whichever. Or help us to appreciate the magnitude of it, if it's different, if it's significant.
Okay, well, cyberbullying is the repeated threatening or harassing behavior that occurs online via the internet or a cell phone, and that can include posting false information, posting private pictures, sending harassing messages, or even gaining someone's trust to impersonate them and post their private information online.
Wow. So you think this is your friend, you send them something, whether it's a photo or just something that you experience, you think, and you just send it along to somebody.
Yeah, and I've seen where even though the definition for bullying is repeated, I've also seen conflicting articles also from the exact same site where it says that cyberbullying can also be considered when it's not repeated, when it just happens, when they just post something nasty or when they send you a message that's harassing. That is considered cyberbullying, point blank, period. And that's why we focus on it. Our theme this year is pause before you post, and Ms. Tori can explain that, but we want to highlight cyberbullying because we have some statistics. 1 in 4 kids will be bullied and 1 in 5 will be cyberbullied. And so those statistics are kind of like right there next to each other. And as phones and virtual reality and gaming becomes more prevalent, and I can get into some more statistics after, but cyberbullying is what we want to focus on. So Ms. Tori can lead us into just the explanation of our theme.
Thanks.
Here.
So our theme for this year is pause before you post. And this theme is really important in today's digital age, just because of the pervasive use of technology and social media in our youth. And also specifically when our youth are being exposed to technology and social media at increasingly younger ages. It's going down and down and down every year, whereas me and Miss Alicia probably might have not had a phone or had access to social media until we were about, 15, 16?
Maybe in our teens.
Yeah, late teens. The youth nowadays might have Snapchat or Instagram from as early as, I've seen it, 12 years old. So they're being exposed.
Very generous. I've seen it like 9.
Yeah.
9,
they have
8.
iPhones at 9 and 10. And they have Instagram or Snapchat accounts at really, really early ages.
Even playing video games too, right?
Yeah, Roblox,
it might not be
Fortnite.
it might not be social media, but they're in lobbies playing different games, right? If they're on Fortnite, if they're on Call of Duty, or if they're on Roblox, they have these lobbies and chat rooms that they speak to people that they don't even know. And so that's a perfect place, especially for predators online and also bullies online, to target our kids.
And as you shared that, I was thinking about today's discussion and how to come at it. And many times I don't think that we appreciate the collective we. Respectfully, the two of you are younger than I am, and you're relatively young, right? And you said at mid-teens that you got your phones, 9, 10, 8, and 7. We've seen them not only with phones, but $1,000, $1,500 phones that we, the parent, bought. They're playing games that no longer are probably age appropriate in terms of stuff. So we, the adults, are not engaged. I'm reminded of the break. I set that up to ask when we return to talk about some of those statistics, but the fact of how that is maybe unfolding in this space. We, the parent, see the child. We know what the child is doing in terms of the video screen being visible. We may hear some of the comments child saying to through the headset to the next person, man, you're an idiot, or you whichever. We're not paying any great attention because seemingly no physical harm. To what extent is that playing out? No pun intended. In the child's life, and then can we talk about that idea of how do we get that young person, like as we all should, pause. Before we post, pause before we speak, pause before. I know it is a snap, but maybe we could talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. Join us right after the break.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Freedom, Cayman Rack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments October 16th to the 19th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited whether you're seeking advanced skin care, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Wayne Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman at gmail.com. That's drporterkman@gmail.com. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020. Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. Two of our parent practitioners from the Family Resource Center, Ms. Tugman and Ms. Lewis. I believe that we can learn much from each other if we're willing to listen. Sometimes if we ask genuinely and willing to stop and hear the response and engage. And every time you all come on, I leave thinking, man, I wish I had knew that before. But it's never too late, right?
Of course.
I hope that's the case.
Yes.
All right. Going into the break, I think I said some things that might have made sense, but you'll remind me and see if I did or not.
Yes, it did make sense. So you were asking about, as parents, how do we recognize when our kids are being cyberbullied online? Because the screen is set up, you see what's happening there. They may or may not have headphones in, so you may be catching piece of the conversation, or you may be not in tune with what's happening or what's going on, right? So when you see that they spend a large amount of time online, especially at night or when they're alone, that's a sign or a marker. When they receive an excessive amount of emails or text messages, sometimes when they quickly exit the games or the computer, or when a parent approaches, like that's another sign too, like maybe they don't want their parents to see what's happening. Withdrawn, depressed, maybe they don't want to go to school because they know that someone is probably going to follow up with something that they've said online. So these are just some of the markers. It's not like if you're listening and you're saying, well, I see that in my kid, like you may want to investigate it further, but it's just some things to look out for and put up a red flag about.
And before I ask my story to jump in, there was a book I think some of us may have heard about, probably read, How to Speak So Your Children Listen, something like that, right? And I wanted to say that many parents will share, I don't know how to talk to my child, I don't know how to ask. And if you do ask a question, you get a one-word answer. Get that much. So how then do we, being concerned, maybe we've heard what you just shared and wondering, is the child okay? Is this thing that I've provided and I'm loving and they're spending, 12, 15 hours, maybe some days, almost non-stop. You're concerned as a parent that they're not being fed properly, they're not getting physical activity without recognizing the other consequences. So how do we ask the child, hey, I noticed this, I'm wondering that, is there a magic formula for it?
Definitely don't think there's a magic formula.
Yeah.
I think that maybe a lot of parents, how they approach it, are a lot general questions. How was school? Good. You're getting met with these one-word answers. If I had to give a tip, it would say be a little bit more specific. One of the things we like to do at FRC is exploring some highs and lows. So what was your high for today? What was something you really enjoyed? What went on that you just absolutely loved? Probe a little bit more for those answers. Okay. What was your low? Tell me something that kind of ticked you off today. Maybe it wasn't your favorite thing. Maybe made you a little upset or angry. That can be one of the ways that you can kind of explore without getting the good, okay type of answers that you usually probably get from your kids.
Right. So be persistent but not intrusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't ask leading questions too, because I think that's a trap. Is like, how are you at school? Are you having good friends? Or do you have bad friends at school? It's like, yeah, of course you expect your child to be like, yeah, Mom, I have bad friends. We don't expect that.
I'm told we have a call in the WhatsApp. Is that where we're going? Hey, welcome. We have an opportunity to talk about cyberbullying in particular with our friends from the FRC. Welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Dwayne and your guests. Talking about bullying today. That's what you're doing?
I believe that's what we're talking about. Yeah, how are you?
All right. Good, man. But yeah, I'm worried about the young people, the kids that came on, because, apart from school age, coming out of school, that's the largest group that are also vulnerable, largely unemployed, and they're bullied, even at that age, of course. But even the younger ones in school, I wonder how many opportunities are there for socialization of these kids and teens, because there used to be a place on Eastern Avenue upstairs, a plaza there, where kids, especially those with, maybe ADHD or certain other things that limit their socializing skills, where they could go and feel comfortable to meet and hang out with each other. Are there still places like that?
Yes, actually, I think the place that you're referring to is the Taya Lounge. The Taya Lounge is specifically for our at-risk youth. So that's more of like a safety hub, but for socializations, I would say making it as natural as possible, not necessarily an institution that has to socialize your kids, but putting them in extracurricular activities, whether that be football, softball, sports. Maybe if they're not into sports, you have art clubs. You have a lot of different clubs on island, and I always recommend parents to engage your kids in clubs at school, engage your kids in clubs outside of school so that they can meet other folk, because what I find what happens too is that when they only go to after school clubs, they're only socializing with persons inside of their school, right? When I was growing up, I was in softball, and so I was interacting with kids from private schools, public schools, like all around the island. So I had friends from multiple schools, and you get to learn from them too. Does that answer your question?
That's great advice. Great advice, especially teams and things like that. But I've seen kids on those teams who function excellent in their role in the team, whatever position or role they're playing. But after the game is over, for the rest of the week or whatever, rest of the month, the kids who are having, sleepovers and birthday parties and this and that, they exclude that type of child still. And even in the classroom, I've seen it where the child acts that certain way in the class, even if they're diagnosed or not. Often they are, but it's hard to explain, or maybe they're reluctant. The teachers are reluctant to explain to the classmates that, listen, Johnny or Susie, is a bit different, however they put that. But as a result of being different in whatever way, I've seen those children excluded from, like I said, the outside of classroom, and even inside the classroom, they're bullied as you're talking about today on the playground or whatever. So even with diagnoses, as I said, I've seen the teachers and the teammates and other types of people not accepting those children. So it is a difficult thing to get that person, that boy or girl, young man or woman, to learn to manage themselves, because that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I think I'll flip it on the parents too, and the conversations that they're having with the kids about inclusion. And this is why I love inclusion Caymans, their goals and their mission, because it's about accepting that we're all different in many ways, right? And we all have our unique abilities, unique things about us that makes us different, and difference is okay. And it's okay to have, and it's about tolerating that. But I think when a lot of times when kids speak out and they bully persons for being disabled or having different abilities, right, or being neurodivergent, it's because they're hearing about those conversations in the house, and they're possibly picking up on that meanness. And so I think parents definitely need to have more conversations about kindness and being kind to your kids, even though you can disagree with something, maybe you feel a way. Empathy building is very important. Learning, how does that person feel? If I were to say this to them, how would they feel about that? If I were to do this, how would they feel? If somebody were to do this to me, how would I feel? Right? Empathy building is a huge thing. So while, yes, I do agree that it's still happening and it's an unfortunate thing, we can only control what we can, and that's raising awareness for us as a company, but also for parents in the homes to ensure that they're teaching their kids about having these social skills. And if not, I've seen a lot of parent groups on Facebook too, where they have kids maybe who are on this autism spectrum, and they're like, hey guys, this is happening to my child. A couple of moms want to come together and let's make a group or form like a play date so that our kids can play together, because they're not playing with other kids. And maybe even some moms might say, hey, I don't have a child that's on the spectrum, but I would love for my child to socialize with just different kids. And so we do have those little communities here on island, which I do appreciate.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks for listening, also for sharing. And I think this is where these conversations now form me, as we look at bullying. All of us at some point probably has bullied without recognizing it, or even intentionally has been without for whatever reason. So your emphasis is on, I guess, cyberbullying this time. Maybe a couple of things, and I want, if you would, and I recognize the time, emphasize your theme, but why, and is cyberbullying sort of given the prevalence now? Is it, as you talked about, 1 in 5 children being cyberbullied versus 1 in 4, but help me to get a perspective, because we don't want anybody to feel, as we say, feel away. I like how you put that. That's a good way to say it. I like that.
Well, I mean, the prevalence of cyberbullying, as we're seeing in recent years, decades, obviously, has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
When many people think about bullying, they think about, physical, being beat up, verbal. But like I said before, with the prevalence of social media use and the rise in technology, cyberbullying is something that we're beginning to see a lot more of, just for that sheer fact. They're being exposed to it a lot younger, from about the ages of 12 to 18. And I think the important thing about this theme, pause before you post, is that it encourages reflection and responsible technology use by educating the youth about the impacts of cyberbullying, whether that be, psychological, withdrawal, anxiety, depression, thoughts of self-harm, educating them about the impacts. Also, as Alicia said, empathy building. How would I feel if it was done to me? How would this person feel? I feel like sometimes those dots aren't quite connected. They're not really associating well. I would feel quite bad or upset if someone said to me, oh, you're fat or you're ugly. And just reminding them about the concept of digital citizenship, which is something that the Monique Burr Foundation talks about. And digital citizenship is essentially the safe, responsible, and respectful use of technology, which is one of the main things we're trying to impart on our school-age children with the use of this program.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I was going to ask, thanks, because digital citizenship, one time when we were talking about global citizens, we're part of the global community, but we're now digital citizens.
Cyber community.
Cyber, right? And from the Sims and what's that thing called? Avatars and, just words that we are only becoming familiar with, but are become almost an extension of our children and their lexicon. So how do we embrace that, and to what extent does that impact where we are?
Yeah, I like, just to backtrack a bit, that Miss Tori brought up the Monique Burr Foundation, because a lot of the information that we're also citing is from the Monique Burr Foundation, and we'll be in schools training kids how to be upstanders and to stand up using their content. But also we have resources for parents too, right, when it comes to that, and how to be a safe adult. That's a huge thing that I just wanted to highlight, right, is that when a child trusts you and they come to you and say, and they report that, hey mom, hey dad, hey auntie, Mr. Dwayne, Mr. that, like, they're trusting you and they're giving you this information, then they're gonna watch and see what you do with that information, because they're telling you, like, hey, I trust you and I trust that you'll do something about this, or I trust that you listen to me and hear me out. So we do have a forum that's coming up on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. That's going to be at the our office, Adonis House, and it's for parents and also teens to be trained. Parents will be trained on how to be safety connection. All right, how to help your child when they say, hey, you're my safe adult, or when you see your child struggling, what do you do? And then for teens, it will also speak about different topics like anti-bullying and being a good digital citizen, and also talk about grooming and all that stuff that we see very often in connection with being online.
As you shared, I'm thinking that for many of us as parents, people, even us as the parent, would automatically assume their child would be safe because we're providing the food and shelter. There's no physical harm. There's no loud, obnoxious discussions. But yet, if through your professionalism, if you would guide me, it's no different sometimes than the child will not eat that thing that you cook, as delicious as it is, but we go to the aunt's or uncle's house or the friend's house and can't get enough of it. Why did you not eat mommy's cooking and this one you couldn't get enough of? So you are providing a safe space because you're not doing anything that's deliberately or unconsciously harmful, but your parent-child relationship isn't one that the child feels safe to talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's facing anomaly, huh?
Yeah. It's something that we definitely need to talk about more and take responsibility as parents for too.
Right.
Because a lot of times we're like, no, I have a good relationship with my child, and then they answer the basic questions like, their favorite color and what school they go to. But other than that, what is your child interested in?
Yeah.
And who are they talking to? Do you know the type of games that they're playing? Is this game appropriate? Do you know the different features that this game has? And I think we were talking on the break about it and saying that sometimes it's this desensitization of, well, it was animated, so it's okay. It's not real life.
Yeah.
But it's still virtual reality, right? It's still things happening in different themes that occur in our real lives. And so when our kids are running over people with a car and shooting people and selling different drugs and stuff on the internet, and it's just a game, well, those things happen in real life.
And to what extent is that thing now, not a neuropsychologist or neurologist or anything, but just thinking, anybody but a young impressionable mind, if that thing is happening repeatedly, wonder what that's doing to the child's development. Just a thought.
I mean, we definitely believe that it reinforces those antisocial beliefs and values of, prostitution is fine, selling drugs, like Alicia said, running people over with cars. Like, they laugh and it's funny. They play the game every day when they come home from school. They play with their other friends that are the same age. Ha ha, hee hee. It's a big game to them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
And they don't really see how that influences their outlook on these topics for later on in life. It almost becomes quite acceptable
It's
to
the
them.
norm.
Yeah, it's the norm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, they drive the car off the cliff. Did they really see it mash up? Knowing, if you ask them as a parent, oh yeah, I know in real life, car will get destroyed. But
it also reinforces the idea that nothing's permanent. You drive off the cliff, there's another life.
Yeah.
Those things don't translate into our real everyday lives because you run your car off a cliff, that's it, it's over. There are no real consequences in these games for the actions that you're partaking in. So I feel like that also has an effect too.
And this is why I think in the conversations with you all consistently cause me to be concerned that as a community we're not cognizant of what is happening to that child at some point because of this thing that becomes normalized. And we think, oh, it's no big deal. She knows better, he knows better. Yeah, probably do. But is it a negative consequence? So say that to share on your presentation on Saturday morning, maybe we as the parent who probably recognizes the child will eat this thing from the aunt or the uncle quicker than they will eat the same thing at home. Maybe we don't have that dynamic with our child. This would be an opportunity to rekindle. In saying that, if the child is 5 or 15, is it too late to attend this and see how you can develop that dynamic with the child, or is it?
The audience that we are specifically focusing on, just because of the content from the Monique Foundation, it's specifically teens, and the reason why is because these kids are the ones that we've trained in the previous years in our sit-up campaign where they got the pins for being like an upstander, and so it's kind of like a refresher to it's like an ambassador training, actually. That's kind of what we're saying, is like we're preparing ambassadors for the community. So we're focusing on ages, I believe it's 12, 13 and up. It's all free. Refreshments are provided. But you do have to register. So if you're interested, email frc@gov.ky. We'll send you a link to register. Hopefully by end of day, we want the numbers. End of day Wednesdays are cut off. But we definitely want to see parents coming out, even if your child hadn't or hasn't done a training in school before, but they are interested in, you see those leadership qualities, definitely register and see how you can also be a safe adult. And even if it's just a conversation about, well, how can I rekindle this? We also have parenting support too at our department.
It's always something that we can learn, and when it's our children, we're talking about in the now but the future. All right, as we, sort of pause today's discussion, because we're going to pick it up again, it's going to be continuing. Any closing thoughts, Ms. Tori?
Other than this was really great, guys.
Oh, thank you. A bit nervous coming in, huh?
Yeah, a little.
For me too. I mean, I'm in the presence of the great intellects like yours, I had to be prepared. Ms. Tugman.
No, I'd just say thank you so much again for, allowing us to have these conversations and allow us to speak about and to raise awareness on this topic. It's an ongoing topic, an ongoing issue, I think, in our community. And so as we become more aware, we stop to think and to reflect and take responsibility to where we've had our shortcomings, but not only that, but also move forward and seeing, okay, well, how can I do better, right? How can I stand up to bullying? How can I be that person in the community that makes this, like, pause before I post, or how can I, like, model that too with my kids and with my friends.
And the FRC website, they can get all the resources, right?
Yep, and also email. You can call us at 949-0006, and get connected.
All right, frc@gov.ky is the email. Well, let us know how we can help, and increasingly, we're very grateful to you all.
Follow us on Instagram, FRC Cayman. We post a lot of content on there, especially throughout this month. That will have some tips too.
Okay, this is where you can follow people and know how to run afoul of that law. This is a safe place to follow. But thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much, Sterling.
All right. Listen, we have great resources. We just need to be aware, and then we need to access, so that through that we become educated and empowered, and through that engagement, we can see a meaningful impact in the communities. Thanks to all the government agencies and the FRC in particular for your continued work for our families. All right, that's it for today, my stuff. Hey, say yes, that's it. Well, join us tomorrow for more talk today. We've got a couple of excellent things in store and an opportunity to close it off with a young entrepreneur. Yes, that's part of the program into tomorrow. You don't want to find out more? Well, join us. Stay tuned for what Radio Kim has to offer. And if you got a song you want to request, call and they'll probably play it for you. Maybe. I don't know. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there